In Vietnam, another young patriot was searching for an answer to the challenge of the West. Vietnam's lush fertility once made it the crown jewel of France's colonial empire. The French first came to Vietnam as missionaries, then as traders, and finally as conquerors. By 1900, Vietnamese labor was providing the French with enormous profits from rubber, from tea, and from rice. Their control of the country was ruthless and absolute. They assumed Vietnam would be theirs forever. But the Vietnamese have a long tradition of overcoming foreign oppression. In Hanoi, Buddhist nuns still chant daily in praise of a humble peasant who liberated Vietnam from China 200 years ago, the Emperor Quang Ju. Today, the Quang Ju nuns also keep the cult of Vietnam's 20th century liberator, Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh is a Chinese name, meaning bringer of enlightenment. Ho's real name was Nguyen Tat Tan. As a young man, he saw his countrymen brutally defeated in feudal uprisings against the French. He realized that beating the French required an entirely different strategy.
Ho
Chi Minh decided that he would go to Europe and see what people do in Europe. The Vietnamese have a saying, if you want to catch a tiger, you must go to the gate of its lair. So Ho Chi Minh decided to go to the gate of the tiger.
In 1911, Ho Chi Minh left his village in northern Vietnam and came to Saigon, Vietnam's commercial opening on the world. At Saigon Harbor, Ho signed on as a cabin boy of a French freighter bound for the West. He visited New York and worked as a dishwasher in London. In 1917, he arrived in Paris and quietly settled at the Tiger's Gate. He would watch with horror and amazement as Western civilization devoured itself. World War I was a European war, but it had a powerful effect on Asia. In 1917, China and Japan joined the Allied side. Both wanted the German territories in China. China sent 200,000 men in work battalions to France. The French sent 100,000 Indochinese troops and laborers to the Western Front. These Asians had little impact on the outcome of the war. But witnessing the war shattered their illusions about Western supremacy. They had seen nations which claimed to be morally superior use the power of their technology and science to destroy each other. "8 million men died. 22 million were seriously wounded. One Chinese intellectual wrote a letter home from France.
Europeans are like travelers in a desert and have lost their direction. They once had a great dream about the omnipotence of science. Now, their talk is filled with its bankruptcy.
But from the collapse of one old European regime came a new social vision. It was the Russian Revolution of 1917, and it gave Asian intellectuals hope. Lenin claimed that the capitalist economies of the West were tottering and saving themselves only by exploiting the labor and resources of their overseas colonies. For proud patriots like Ho Chi Minh, it was the first explanation of the plight of Asians which did not humiliate them. By the World War's end, Ho Chi Minh had become a well-known figure among the Parisian left. He called himself Win Ai Kwok, Win who loves his country. To his astonishment, in the tiger's lair, he had found sympathy for his cause.
It was quite a shock to him, because in Vietnam, the Vietnamese are nothing under the French rule. They were kicked, they were ill-treated. But once he came to France, people called him Mr. Sir. And then when he visited the French socialist newspaper, Le Populaire, then the editor told him, my comrade, my friend, we shall help you. Now, there is something very new.
But Lenin was not Ho Chi Minh's only hero. When the war ended in 1919, the Allied powers met at Versailles to design the post-war world. Ho and many other Asians pinned their hopes on the American president, Woodrow Wilson. In his famous 14 points, Wilson had called for self-determination for all the world's peoples. Ho took his own plan for Vietnamese independence to the Versailles Conference, but he was barred from entering. From that day on, the mysterious Win Ai Kwok was a hero to his countrymen.
He became the symbol of the dreams of our youth of these days. Somewhere, somehow in Paris, at the center of France, a Vietnamese stood up and said, we want independence for Vietnam. That is very great for most Vietnamese.
At Versailles, Ho Chi Minh learned that American democratic ideals did not extend to the colonies of America's ally, France. As he watched the surging crowds cheering the agreement signed by the great powers, Ho understood, once and for all, who his real friends would be. 6 months after the Versailles Treaty, Ho Chi Minh helped found the French Communist Party. In 1923, he left Paris for Moscow. For the next 20 years, he would devote himself to the world communist movement, determined that someday Vietnam would have the freedom denied her at Versailles.